Okay, we're back again.
I'm probably gonna call. Let me see, Sophie. She said she's gonna be just a little late. I'm gonna add her here, and she's gonna get an email. Sophie. Okay. Francois should be around. He should
Okay.
enter any time. So, okay, I want to record this because I think it's an interesting reflection that we're having here. So maybe we should wait for Francois. Is he there?
Hello.
Good morning, Sophie.
Hi.
Good morning. Oops.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. So Bob and I were oh, this is Francois.
Ah, there he goes.
Hello, Francois.
Hello. Coming slowly into this.
Oh, are you sick?
I'm
You have the
here.
cold too? No, Sophie.
Where is I see Francois' still picture, but I don't see him actively.
Francois.
François.
Okay.
I'm just trying to send him. Oh, there you go. Here he is.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ah, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
That's for the sound.
So Francois, we were talking about, and Sophie, we were talking about. We were having this free discussion about how to log stuff into the system, how to log contributions into the system, and that discussion also led to, stuff that is evaluated within the value network, and we always have these, discussions about R&D, which is more informal than manufacturing. So there are different tools that you can use to log contributions into the system, and some of them help you log designs which are deliverable of more extended activities in time. And once you are able to log designs, then you are to evaluate designs rather than time contributions. For example, there is this guy, Stephen, that was referred by Bill, who is working on a program, collaborative platform to do electronic design. And we were thinking about GitHub and have that capability into this program for electronic design. So now this collaborative tool for designing electronics actually allows to record different designs and see how they relate to each other. Design is a living thing. It can actually be forked from another design. It can merge with the other designs and so on. So a tool like that for collaborative electronic design, mixed with the capability of GitHub to follow designs and their evolution, gives you a whole picture about how designs evolve, and you can have that too in mechanical design, if you enhance tools such as SolidWorks, to be able to follow a design and its evolution. And then once you have these tools that record the evolution of designs, one idea was to log designs, as whole things that you can evaluate, and then the time that went into the design and the materials that went into the design, and the financial contributions that went into these designs, become just indicators. It's just an idea. It's just another way of seeing how to log contributions and how to evaluate contributions. Okay. For now, Bob is working on what he called the lab notes, which is a way for us to record our activities, share our activities, and at the same time even interlink, with other activities. So designs will basically in these notes and even referenced from outside. So these lab notes will be used for us to document our R&D, to share this documentation, and to log time, right?
Yeah, and it may not be totally obvious in there, but the important features of the lab notes interface are not just the time, but also you document the deliverables, like what you created with that time, and also what you used or referenced. So if you do design work, then the output can be what design work you did, and that design work doesn't have to live within the system. It can just be referenced as a URL from the output, and that's what lives in the system. It would also be possible, let's say GitHub, for example, has an API. We can hook into GitHub. It's possible that ElectroSim has or will have an API. We can have our own API. In other words, we can hook these things together with protocols, where depending on ElectroSim, particularly if we got somebody friendly on the that's creating it. In other words, we should be able to either import from ElectroSim or have ElectroSim just send us something, and we can incorporate it. We can create our own receptor for whatever they send. So there's a lot of a lot of this stuff is walk before we run kind of thing. In other words, I want to see the facility within the system to record what you're doing, but doesn't mean that's the only way it can get done.
Yeah. So one of the problems with these tools, for example, ElectroSim, is that it doesn't record other things that go into this effort of design, right? So if you make some purchases of materials or tools that we normally do in R&D, that doesn't get recorded there, okay? So it has to be recorded somewhere else, okay? So, but at the same time, it's good to think in terms of API, because more and more tools for design are becoming collaborative, are becoming web platforms, and so they exist. They're there, and there are communities forming around them, like with Google SketchUp, okay, and the 3D Warehouse. There's a huge community sharing, 3D designs that they made with SketchUp. So the idea is to go there where people are and tap into the tools they use through API, rather than duplicate or bring that into the value the value network.
Well, somehow you have to have the ability to network things. Now, we have the ability to network things in the value accounting system. GitHub also has the ability to network things. In other words, GitHub can create for you a network of, and it's a network that I believe that you can extract from GitHub, where you have the where you have, their network has some problems. There's some flakiness in it. I've tried to follow it a couple of times, and where they failed. But they're very responsive. If you got a problem, they'll when I have problems with GitHub, I get a response the same day. And I'm not paying them anything. So I have a lot of respect for what they're doing, and would not be afraid to hook into them. And now, so I guess the question for other tools, in other words, we have the ability to hook in all of the things that you purchased in terms of or use in any way in a design process, and hook that up and connect it to the deliverable. We can also link into ElectroSim or GitHub or someplace else, fairly simply just with a URL, or we can hook in it more, down the road we can hook into it in a more elaborate API to API or protocol kind of way. So I guess the questions in a lot of those cases are: does the tool itself have the ability to network contributions, or will we have to provide that networking capability, or export it from theirs or whatever, And some of that is going to come down to what is practical when it comes to income distribution. In other words, income distribution is going to be computationally heavy duty. It's it's going to be one of those things where if you haven't done some optimization, it's going to crank for quite a while. And if you're starting to go over the internet for a bunch of information, then you got about like 1,000 times you're going to be 1,000 times slower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so these are the other ideas, and now they're there, and some people might, find them on this video and continue thinking about them. Bob, you want to go to your agenda, or?
Well, my agenda is I guess number one is: did you understand where I was going with the lab notes interface well enough to be able to start playing with it? Or do we need to go through that some? I can go either way on that. It doesn't matter to me. If you're happy starting to play with it, and then you can yell at me if you have problems. I'll be around mostly except for Wednesday. The rest of the time I'm in and out, but I'm available. And so we could go that way, or we could walk through it some. The other questions were: what should I do next? And the two possibilities for next that I listed in that email were R&D processes or purchasing. And I don't care.
Okay.
Or you may have a better idea, So go ahead.
Just a question. What do you think about putting into these R&D processes? That's a very general question. But
are you asking me or those guys?
Yeah, maybe you, Bob, or maybe I'll formulate another way. First of all, I already said a couple of times that I like to maybe loosely couple the components as well as tapping into the APIs of other things existing throughout the web. So that's one thing. Another thing is that the lab notes, I looked at it really, really, really briefly, and I think they could apply in some kind of way to R&D. And it's a good example of something that can really have a value in terms of R&D, because you really log the contributions, and then if you're able to log the issues that you have and how they were solved, it could be pretty well easily transposed into some kind of R&D report. That I've in Canada, we file R&D reports quite often to get some funds, and having those kind of lab notes is really important to show.
Yeah, the lab notes interface actually came up because of a discussion about R&D activities, and it was proposed by Francois. And I ran with it, and it looked to me like it was also be useful for almost any kind of a process that where people are trying to log their time. And and in particular, it allows me to hook in both what people did and also what they created and also what they used, so it hooks the whole network together.
Okay.
The difference, one difference, and there's probably a bunch of other differences between a manufacturing process and an R&D process, but one difference is that the manufacturing processes have recipes, and all of the process schedule can be generated by a dependent demand explosion, so you get a whole schedule for not very much work. In terms of R&D activities, so one of the things is not having a recipe. Then you have to create a process on the fly and say, okay, I want to do this. Here's my goal. Here's what I want to get out of it. Here's what I think I might use. And then start working on it, or maybe hook some other people in, request that other people work on it. So you would have a process out there, and you would put out the process itself. You would say, okay, I want these kinds of work inputs, and they would go out on the schedule, and they would be out there, and people could see them, and they could, so they would come out as so Tibi's saying, how do you create a lab note if it's not already created by a demand? Well, you have to. That's what I think in R&D. How I would start with R&D processes. In other words, you can create a process that is not created by a demand, and that process then will call for various kinds of work to be done on it, and those will show up on the work page as unassigned tasks that will be, that will either call for some known skills or will be hanging out there and people can just take them. So then you can have people start to participate in that. Once they take the task, then they'll get a lab notes for that, for their part of that process. And if there's more people working on it, then they will be shown in those lab notes, and you will be able to refine over time. As you might have only the vaguest idea of what you want to create, from that process at first, and you'll have to be able to refine the idea of what you make, until you point, okay, well, I got this. You might have multiple outputs. You may have a bunch of different failures, which you then document, and also then down the road, I have in mind a kind of you're familiar with if this then that?
Sorry?
No. Are you familiar with, there's a web service called If This Then That?
No.
No, I saw it. I didn't try it.
Okay, well, if there is a common framework, software framework that is basically sometimes if this then that is an example of this, which is it's a very general idea, which is event condition action, where basically some event has happened, in some conditions, and then if you have an event like that, then some actions could take place, and so there was a game system once upon a time that had a wonderful version of this, which I have stolen a few times, which is basically when something happens that is unanticipated. Like you have some kind of a problem in terms of an R&D process or something like that, or in terms of a scheduled process, you broadcast this event, and then that event with its conditions, and then you put that out for response. And there may be some different actions that people could take from that, and you could make rules for various things that happen, and say, okay, if this happens, then that happens, So it's like, I think what Sophie was somewhat similar, or maybe the same thing of what Sophie is saying, that you're going to be raising these problems. If you raise those problems, then those problems can get broadcast to everybody, and they say, okay, everybody take a shot at, okay, what should we do about this? Here's the problem, here are the conditions I'm facing, what should we do about this? And then as things evolve, you can evolve solutions to those kinds of problems. So you can say, okay, well, if this happens in those conditions, well, here's what you do. So right. you start building both a knowledge base and, in some cases, automated actions that can take place when you hit problems. I mean, this is down the road. So this is not something that I'm going to do right this minute, but this is something that is going to follow from doing R&D in particular, and it's also going to happen in manufacturing work. In other words, you're going to have problems in manufacturing work where where you thought something was coming in from a supplier and it didn't get there on time when you expected, or it came in and it was bad, and you're going to have to return it and get another, and this is going to mess up the whole schedule, and then you're going to have to shove the customer order out, and then you're going to have to contact, I mean, there's all things happen, Murphy's Law. So at any rate, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but basically the whole framework, or context for logging time in a network where you have all of the network connections, and you're connected to the next process, and you're connected to the process for that, and all the people that are working on all those other processes, and you can notify them. And you can follow the contributions from one process to another. I mean, this is the kind of thing. That something like this will be necessary to follow contributions through a network. So it's either here in this system, or it's extracted from GitHub or some other system that provides a way for you to network contributions. But so you've got the connections, the resource connections between the processes. Okay, I made this, now it's ready for you. You've got the following the contributions through the process, and you've got the impacts of problems and problem solutions that also percolate through the network. In other words, if when I said broadcast, that's probably not exactly the right idea. if you have a problem and it's going to affect the next process, then you want to notify the people who are working on the next process. You know, you may not need to notify everybody.
Yeah.
So, okay, I probably talked farther than I can, but basically what is I'm seeing R&D activities fitting into a network context somewhere. You know, so you can throw a process out there and you can say, okay, here's what I think I need. Here's what I think I'm going to create. Once you create it, then other R&D activities can reference that. So let's say if what you created was a design as a result of all this stuff, then the next process comes out, you know, in this R&D activity. You know, I'm assuming that that there's that you've got more than one thing. This is something's going to build on that. So then that references that design and then takes off from there. I probably, you know, maybe I'm saying too much here, but am I making sense in any way?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Well, we don't know how it will work in details between networks, but I think the idea is pretty clear.
Now, between networks, when you're talking about between, what do you have in your mind?
Well, for now, if this is for internal use, I think I see well how it will be.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is to be able also to collaborate with other networks that do also R&D.
Yep.
And I don't know how this layer will happen, but for now it's not our main concern.
Oh, that's that thing I got on the roadmap that's called a protocol.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if we're going to interact with another network and they will be using either another instance of this software or some other software that knows how to play in a value network and can use the same protocol, then you can send, you know, a variety of signals and messages. Either, you know, you can send them a dependent demand. You can receive resources from them. You can request resources. You can tell them about problems. You know, the problems can percolate to the next network, or from the previous network to you. So there would be a variety of messages that would go between networks on a following a protocol, you know, and so all the other network would have to do is implement and use the protocol, and they can be parts of the same larger network.
Yeah.
Okay, so they can share their lab notes.
That would be interesting. This gets into what the other thing that Tibi and I were talking about beforehand, which is there are these various services out there. You know, I mean, GitHub being one of them, but there are also the ElectroSim, and there are other kinds of things. You know, there, in addition to a network-to-network protocol, there may be other services out there for sharing, and there are other services out there where people would want to share designs. You know, so it would be more like just exporting and importing between this software and those services, you know, so you're not so you know, you could do it network to network, but you could also do it in the sense of everybody put their designs out on GitHub or ElectroSim or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can we go back to the lab notes, because I want to get a sense of when we can use it for R&D. One of my goals is to get rid of the old way of logging
Yep.
time contributions,
Okay.
which is it's very rudimentary, and it's very hard to analyze once the data is in there.
Yep.
Okay, this is what I'm getting from working on the LabVIEW program.
Yep.
So yeah, so if you can give us the sense of when we can use that, Bob, in the R&D context. And then
if you want me to, do you want me to start working on R&D next then?
Is it what you mean, Tibi?
Well, because if I think Bob is asking the question because there is a link between lab notes for R&D and working on R&D. The other option Bob put forward is to work on
Purchasing.
Purchasing, yes, because
Yeah.
I was doing some purchasing, and we have all these suppliers, and we work from a spreadsheet. And I got frustrated one day, and I sent Bob an email and said,
Yep.
Bob, it would be nice to have, purchasing included in the system already, because now we have a need to use it, and that would, force us to use the new web application, the software he's building.
Well, that's why I asked the question, because we had talked about R&D next as before, and then you mentioned the purchasing. So, in other words, if you want to use lab notes for R&D, then I can start working on how to get R&D processes into the system, and I can do that in a few stages. I can do it initially as something really, really, really simple, which I can get done this week.
Okay.
And then you can tell me what's wrong with that, because certainly things will be wrong with that. Missing, not quite right,
Okay.
But it'll be something. It'll be something out there that you can start thinking about how to do R&D work in this context. But the lab notes interface will be pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this is a dependent demand generated by a program, from an order. That's all. Follow a recipe.
So here I see two things. The first one is to get rid of the log your contribution spreadsheet using lab notes. I am right? Am I right here, or I misunderstood?
Yeah, I mean that would become obsolete the way we log time now. Yeah, that would become would retire, and that data should be saved in some format and then be used in future calculations.
And there's a second point here is to get rid of the material to order spreadsheet also.
Yeah, to improve that. Yeah.
Okay, but for the first point, Tibi, you want this soon, and Bob, you said is it easy to have it soon, or it's start
on R&D activities?
No, to get rid of
purchasing.
To get rid of the log your contribution spreadsheet and replaced by lab notes.
There's two parts of that. One is getting the lab notes interface so that it does everything that you need to do for logging time contributions, which means it would have to be able to do R&D activities and other processes that are not from recipes. So
any task, basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then the other thing is what is usually called a cutover from one system to another. In other words, you have a working system right now which is done in Tibi spreadsheets,
Right.
and that is what everybody is using right now. And so there is. I have already done a whole bunch of imports from those spreadsheets into the value accounting system. So I pretty much know how to do that. It's a little cranky, and there's some differences in precision that cause problems, but I've done it. So because eventually and we talk, okay, now how do you do the cutover here? There's several parts of the cutover. One is what do you do with the old contributions? Do we import them into the new system, or do we import them in the new system in some summarized way so that we don't actually need all the detail, but we still got it for ongoing, because those contributions are potentially forever.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
They are eligible for participation in income distribution forever, so we can't lose them. We can't lose the information in the spreadsheet. So we either have to import it whole hog, everything, or we have to summarize it in some way so that we say, okay, this is the history of time contributions. It's still out there. Everybody gets credit for these in every time contribution from here till the end of the world. And so that's one aspect of the cutover. The other one is getting everybody to start using the new system. And in order to and prior to that, we got to make sure that the new system works well. Now, I just did this lab notes interface, and I did some testing of it, but what I already find out when I get like real people testing it, it's like I am the programmer. Okay, I know how it's supposed to work, and so real people will do things that I never thought. No, nobody will ever do that. Oh yes, they will. So in particular, if I decide that something is impossible, this will never happen, it will happen day one. And I never even thought about it. Oh no, so this is going to happen. In other words, this, bugs, screwy things. So the stuff has to get beat up more, and it needs to get beat up by more people also, because Tibi is out there now, and Tibi is also somewhat acculturated. So he's sort of got an idea of how this stuff works, and so the next person that comes in is gonna do something that Tibi never would have thought of doing. So you know what I'm saying? I mean, this is just real life in the software world. So that's an aspect of getting stuff to be hardened, and then I need to put this stuff in a real industrial strength database, which doesn't take very long, but that needs to be done. So there's a few things that need to be done in order to, before this is ready for real use, and then you have to actually do the cutover, where you say, okay, starting now, everybody has to use a new system. The spreadsheets are gone. We've taken all the spreadsheet information, we put them into the new system. Go and use the new system. And inevitably, then somebody will not have tried the new system yet, so they won't know what to do. And I mean, there's the cutovers are difficult, but that's there's a lot of that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
There is also
No, we can't stay forever on Windows 3.1.
Yeah, I guess so.
There is also the how these lab nodes will leave. So let's say I have a task here. If it's an independent task, which is let's make some joint type transducers now, because some customer wants them. Then I use a lab node to record that work. Then that could leave as an independent, entity in the system. But now if I have a continuous R&D project, so I work on R&D project that can extend a few months. Now this lab node, I want some continuity, and every time I call the lab node, I want it to have the previous information that I put in there. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I have my entire notes about this particular project. I have the context, in there. So the idea is how to. I mean, yes, Bob, you said they are persistent lab nodes.
They are.
Now how to put content together, for an ongoing project. We would like to have all the information in there.
For an ongoing project, it is possible that you will want to have lab notes with multiple pages. They would all be connected, but you may want to. It's going to get awful long at some point. You may want to have it broken up into sections, which we're going to have to talk about when you get there, because it's not. It will. When you go to back into the lab notes now, you will see what you did before. It'll all be there. You can just continue where you left off. If you start working on a contribution, that may or may not be what you want to have happen in a long-running process. It might just get too awkward to work with. But that's something we can deal with when the time comes. But as of now, it just continues. You bring it back you bring the same task back up, click the lab notes button. If you saved it before, it'll be back exactly as you saved it.
I'm trying it now. Oh, there you go. You're right, Bob.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, come on. I'm a programmer. I know this. I tried this.
Yeah, it works.
What did you do, Tibi?
Huh?
What did you do?
Okay, so follow me. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I've done here, I've created
You created a new.
You see, I created some demands.
Okay, demand.
Some orders, and now
Create order.
When you create orders, the recipe contains work processes, right? You have resources that go inside, and you also have work processes. And all the work processes end up here. Is that right, Bob? So all the work processes end up here, and for every work process, you have a lab node that is generated. Okay, so I can, for example, do work manufacturing electronics. So I can open this lab node, but actually I was working on this one, so you can open it.
And then the second one you've started, it says you've started that one. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and then I can, come back and work on this a little more. So you can start your clock. And now the clock has started, and I'm doing my work, and I'm taking my notes here.
Yeah, but at the very beginning, you created an order. That's it?
At the very beginning, you create an order. So that's one way to create lab nodes. But Bob is saying that he will allow, for R&D purposes, to create work demands that are not necessarily part of recipes.
Yeah,
okay, so
and are not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not things that are not connected to recipes and/or are not connected to orders. In other words, you decided you wanted to do this.
So for now, the only way to create a lab node is to make an order. And the lab node is created just according to the recipe and the work activities or the work processes that are included in the recipe. Okay, so what you see here. What happens if I didn't stop the clock? Oh, the clock reset itself when I say start.
Oh, bug.
Anyway, so you see, Francois, work, manufacturing optics. This work here is actually part of a recipe of making mosquito scientific instrument. Another thing here, Bob, is that you pile work, other unassigned tasks. Okay, they pile up here, so you should have two dates, and according to the date, you can distinguish between two separate orders. So
Well, it
this is
says
January
which. It's
31st.
each one of them says which order they're for.
Does it?
Yeah.
Order 2, yes, for order 2, okay. So you have here for order 1, and this one end date, which is January 31st, and then it jumps to the order 2 right here, which is just the order 1. The order 1, I think it's mosquito, a full mosquito, and the order 2, I think it's an XYZ piezo. Okay. There are also other things that I noticed, but I don't know if these are bugs or maybe it's the way I built the recipes. It might be an error in building recipes, because I saw some duplicates here that I thought they.
What's the duplication? You will see multiple tasks with of the same type for different orders.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is very possible that you will want to that those will want to be combined. In other words, the dependent demand explosion right now is sort of stupid. It just explodes. The basic dependent demand algorithm usually has a bunch of sub-processes, one of which is worker quantity rules. So one of the quantity rules is period supply, where you say like, okay, while I'm doing this, if we've got, let's combine all of the processes of that type for that same output for the same week. Let's just combine them all into one process and do them at the same time. So there's those kinds of rules that can be put into the dependent demand explosion that would say, okay, we're not going to have two processes of that same type with that same output in the same, in the same time period. Let's just combine them. Or there's minimum order quantity rules. We say, well, if we're going to do this, it's not worth doing just one. Maybe we should just do 10 because we're always doing this, and we might as well do 10. Just if we, so those are the kinds of things that you can put into the dependent demand explosion to combine tasks.
And how can we cancel an order?
Beg pardon?
How can we cancel an order?
You can cancel an order from the demand page. There's a button there to delete
I'll show you,
it.
Francois.
Okay.
I'll show you, Francois. You go here.
Yeah.
You just created a bunch of orders now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you delete them. Now,
okay, that's easy.
Yeah, one of the problems right now with deleting the order is deleting the order is a little stupid too. I believe deleting the order will probably delete any time contributions, and it should not do that. And
right.
So
And it's not good if we can delete by mistake other orders that are actually good.
Oh, when you hit the delete button, it will give you a delete confirmation page, and it will tell you everything that it's going to delete as a result of hitting that button, and then you can, it doesn't, it's it will at least remind you. We can also put some permissions on a lot of this stuff where you say,
Exactly,
okay,
that's
the
further
delete,
down, yeah.
the delete an order button is only accessible by super users or people with, or Francois, or people with particular permissions,
Or the guy who created the order.
or the guy that created the order. Sure.
Okay, so
right now it isn't. Right now it's stupid.
Okay.
so
Simple.
But it does warn you. It will warn you. It's okay. I'm gonna delete all the rest of this stuff. Make sure you know what you're doing.
yeah, it gives you a chance to change your mind. At least it's you can't just press delete and it's gone. So Bob, okay, so Francois, what do you think? Should we work on R&D or purchasing?
If we work for including R&D into the log my work process, the logging process, I think you will end up sooner to have a system that allow to log all the contributions.
Yep.
So that's why I would prefer we integrate the we get rid of the spreadsheet and we log into the lab notes for every task.
Okay. Okay, I think yeah. I also want to get rid of the time spreadsheet. Yeah.
I think one of the things that's going to happen is that you're going to be ordering stuff, purchasing stuff for R&D processes also. So if you don't have R&D processes in there, you're going to be missing some of the stuff that you want to be purchased. Because I saw that in the spreadsheet, that people want to purchase stuff for particular scheduled processes, but they also want to suggesting ordering stuff because we need it in general for R&D activities.
Yeah. So Bob, what's your preference?
I think we should do R&D.
Okay.
But I'm easy, I'm easy. I'm just I'm willing to go with the flow. They both got to get done.
Sophie, what do you think?
I go with R&D too.
Okay.
Yes, I think it would be useful if we can get to a point where yes, people can log directly in the system, and this will be a good way to really experience things in a concrete manner.
Yep.
And then you'll be able to see what is going well, what is going wrong. I have already a couple of ideas. Because just a bit of warning, you say you want to get rid of these spreadsheets.
Yes.
But you might realize that from an end user perspective, it takes much less time to log time into a spreadsheet. That's kind of my project management experience, where it's very difficult to get people to log their time. So if you add any kind of additional constraint, it will prove to be much more difficult. So, but those kind of things that if we have this tool, we can experience with it and then improve based on that.
Yeah, I think in general, I sort of agree with that. On the other hand, what you would have to do is you would have to log things into several different spreadsheets if you really wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one spreadsheet and easy, and I'm going to put my time contribution in it, and I already know how to do that. It's like several spreadsheets. So,
Why several spreadsheets?
Because you also have to log you also have to log materials that, there's this whole thing about that Tibi's going through about purchasing materials, and then there's a bunch of stuff about that. Has this been purchased? Do we have it yet? And then in terms of contributions, then you have to take that. Well, did that get used? And that's not even done right now, but would have to be done in that same spreadsheet. So you have to deal with the materials usage, and then somewhere you have to deal with what did you create and how did that get used, and that's not done anywhere yet. That's like buried in a text cell in this spreadsheet. So that would have to be in another spreadsheet if you really want to do this in spreadsheets such that you can actually follow this stuff. Otherwise, so it's not just the time; it's also the resource flow. Otherwise, you're missing a whole bunch of connections that will come back to haunt you.
Yeah. My experience of just getting people to log their time, I can hardly imagine that they would log anything else. But that will come from experience.
I'm with you, been there. We will have to play with this and see what people will do and won't do, and what would be easier ways to get it to all happen. I don't know. I'm aware of the things that have to be done some way if you want this stuff to hang together. In other words, there are forced moves in this thing.
Yeah.
You can say, well, yeah, all I need to do is log time, but then you're missing all of the resources. Say, okay, well, we also need to log the resource. Okay, well, now you got another spreadsheet, or you got some other way to do it. So I was trying to combine them. Now, will that work? I don't know. I don't know. But it is at least a one way to do it that will work. If people will do it. Now, will people do it? I don't know. I'm not
very concerned that people will not do it. I mean, we have to make it as easy as possible for people to log time and contributions, and log contributions in different forms. But I think people get the message that, hey, this is how you could earn your living. So this is not just about paying. You know what I'm saying? This is serious stuff. So that's the minimum you have to do in order to ensure that later on you will have you will have a revenue based on your work. And the idea is, how can one get a revenue based on one's work if there is no record of the work into the system? So somebody finds a better way to put data into the system so that the system can tell you later, how much you should be rewarded for your work. Then fine, but that's the easiest way we found for now. So,
my goal here is to provide a way that will work, and I can see a whole bunch of different ways that I could improve that logging interface. I'm not personally inclined to do it because there's so many other things to do. So I sort of like, for myself, roughing out a lot of this stuff in a way that will work, and then somebody else can come along, and Sophie can come along and say, oh, well, I could improve that. Go do it. Yay! And I'll sit here and cheer, and I'll go on and do the next thing. Okay, so I'm happy. I'm happy with some. Everything I've done here, I can see. Oh, I could really improve that a lot. Well, yeah, but it would take another week. Okay. Okay. I'd rather get it out there and have people start beating on it and find out what's wrong with that, and then be have some personal incentive to improve it because they're going to suffer from this stupidity. And so yes, please improve everything.
Okay.
I also have to make some announcements here. We will have, first of all, we will have a meeting probably this week, Friday, with these guys from, I don't know how to pronounce it, in Spiral.
Metamaps? Is that you're showing me?
This is in Spiral. I don't know if you can see that here. This is their blog. It's a group from New Zealand. It's a group of entrepreneurs.
Oh, those guys! Those are the guys that you're going to go visit.
Yeah, well, we would like to. Yeah. So what's interesting about them is that these are a bunch of entrepreneurs, and from what I understand, they're all involved with software. Okay, so the product is software, but they have this drive to organize in a network, and I got invited to their mailing list, their communication system, and I went through some of their discussions. I read the Constitution, so they're trying, they have deep reflections about their legal form, how they should be constituted, and they also think about, if a bunch of people get together to, for a project, and that project generates revenue, how is this revenue, how do we redistribute the revenue? And so they're thinking about, they're thinking about the co-op legal form, and then, every entity is a business in there, and now they sort of thinking how to have these contractual relationships between these businesses and how value should flow. I personally think their system, because they started with boxes and connecting boxes together instead of thinking about a network and fluid exchanges, I think their system it's set up to become very complex. But these guys, they're interested in value accounting. They're interested in the value network idea and model. And I saw that they were talking about Sensorica on their mailing list, and citing some of my ideas why a co-op structure or any kind of box structure, it's outdated, and why we should move towards more networked entities and fluid exchanges. So they're sort of open to these ideas, and therefore is in software. So what I'm looking for here is to have a discussion with them about value networks, see if they want to implement these ideas for their own setup, and see if we can have them contribute with code, contribute to the infrastructure of value networks. So that's about these guys here. So we're probably going to have a meeting next Friday. And
can you send the link, please? You can just put it in the chat here.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. Yeah.
All right.
And so this guy, this is Ishan. He's actually Ishan Shapiro. He's a friend of Kurt. He was referred to us by Kurt. We had some discussions. He's on our mailing list. And so he has this project about meta mapping or meta maps. So it's a software to map, but it goes beyond just mapping concepts. You have a lot of mind maps, software to map concepts.
Yep.
You have knowledge represented as a network of, ideas and concepts, and relationships in between, and so on. It's a way of representing knowledge, but his tool here goes beyond that, and he can potentially maps can potentially process information, okay, and represent value networks. Okay, so I listened to one of their videos. So they have meetings like us on Hangout, and they record these meetings like we do. So I yesterday night I listened to one of their meetings, and was sort of a tutorial where Ishan was going through the tool, the maps, meta maps, and he was showing people how to use this tool to build maps from a text. And so in this video, he announced that they will have two videos pretty soon where they will basically try to map resources and map value flows. Okay, and the idea is that this sort of representation can actually be applied to value networks. So a value network
sure.
could be represented by a map, and all these relationships could, the nodes could be functional nodes within the value network, and then the relationships is what ties everything together, and you can have maps of flows, or value flows, of resources, and so on. So this tool can basically represent the value network. Okay, you can represent Sensorica with it. Okay. So I told Ishan to invite us to these next talks where he will show how to use this tool to map value flows and resources.
When are you going to talk to him or them soon?
Well, I already sent an email to Ishan, and he answered back, and yeah, he will invite us. I don't know when this meeting or when he's going to hold this meeting or this tutorial. He will announce us. I think for End Spiral, we'll have a meeting probably this Friday. With Ishan, I don't know. There's something else that I want to add for Ishan here with MetaMaps, is that he has MetaMaps as an open enterprise. So there's already a small community working on this project. So it's him and other people coding.
Yeah, I looked at their stuff. Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay, so they want to represent themselves as a value network. Okay, this is how they think about this project, as a value network. Okay, basically, and they actually use the term value network. Okay, so this is probably stuff that Ishan, because he's aware of Sensorica and he's aware of what we're doing, is sort of starting to use the same terminology. So he's not gonna have so MetaMaps is not your classical company, software company that makes a product and tries to monetize it. What they actually do, they want to constitute themselves as a value network. Okay, and they're starting to map different types of contributions, have a spreadsheet with a list of members and different types of contributions, and every member what type of contribution brings to the value network and so on. So this is another another group that is interested in the value network model that they want to implement it, they want to use it, and at the same time, it can be a tool for us, or we can get inspired from MetaMaps, okay, in a way to represent value networks.
Yeah, it would be interesting to. Do you know if I don't think I got far enough into it to find out. Do they have an API yet, or are they working on one? Are they interested in that?
Yes, they are interested. They are interested in that. From the video I listened to yesterday, it's still very experimental.
Because we could just send them something.
Yeah, they well. Ishan is very close to us, so I think we can ask him any kind of question you want to ask him. Okay, I just
What I'm thinking about initially is that I'm working on very slowly because I got all these other things on the plate, but I'm working on redefining that initial network diagram that we had in terms of the actual relationships between projects. And that would be a really good one to create as a meta-map. And it would be best to do it live from the system in some way. So we're not re-entering all the information and then it gets stale. So it's okay, bang, this is the current live Sensorica network. Yeah, this is all faked. You know, I faked all this stuff. This is not, you know, those are to some extent, they're real objects in the system, but they're real objects that I created in, you know, myself, not from the actual recipes and project relationships. Because I wanted to have something to show my, you know, in terms of an overview, but it's not, you know, I want to do something now that is real, that is based on the data that you guys have been entering.
Yeah, and also, you know, talking about if then, if this then what, you know, what Ishan is talking about with his network. Actually, I could read his email. Is that they want to add also sensors. Oh, there you go. So it says, "Hi Tibi, indeed, this is a major focus of mine. Our intention is for MetaMaps to grow into a powerful information processes environment with value flows, sensors, triggers, challenges, narratives, enabling value networks is in the pipeline. It is but a seedling now. So we got to end, yeah.
Yeah, Tibi, did you ever read that thing I wrote? I think it was 2005 or something like that, about sensor networks in the context of this kind of a model. You might have.
What kind of sensors? You mean?
It's just
real world sensors, or sensors in?
It was an overview of a whole lot of different things in terms of I'm going to look for it. In terms of it was one of the things that I wrote when I was preparing to do things like what we're doing right now.
Okay. I think Ishan is also looking for. I think that's the term sensor. You know, there's this project citizen sensing where sensing is more on information, in the information space, not necessarily in the real world. You know, you have the web of things with sensors out there, and then you can have that input into a decision-making system, you know, and trigger actions. But I don't know if Ishan is talking about these kind of sensors, real-world sensors, like in, you know, the web of things, or sensors like a human being, you know, or an internet sort of agent that reacts to, or, you know, it's set up to sense some type of news, okay, that arises on the internet, and then feed that into the decision-making process.
So, sorry to interrupt. I'll have to quit. I have to prepare some chemicals for this afternoon for Polytechnique.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think we have to. I think this meeting is getting too long now, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and we need to do some R&D. Otherwise, the value network doesn't really exist. If we don't create value. Yeah, me too. I have to come to the lab and then go to Miguel.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, are we done?
Yes.
I gotta get these. I gotta open these links before I kill this. So.
Sophie, did you have anything else to say, or?
I'm just opening links, and okay, I'm done.
I couldn't hear you, Sophie. I think your microphone is off.
No, I don't. There's some kind of other problem. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear Bob. I can't hear Sophie.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was off. Yeah, I just realized that. Just to say that if you meet with the Fab Lab, I'm interested in meeting with them
Okay.
as well this week.
Okay.
I don't know. When is it to be?
You know, Francois, I sent an email yesterday to
Monique?
Marc
Or
Olivier,
okay.
and I got the email this morning. I don't have a date yet. Okay, so he's
Okay,
gonna
you
come back to me today with the time.
let
With the
us know. Excellent.
I told him that I prefer Wednesday. So he's working around that time. Okay, but he's also inviting other people.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay. See
Okay.
you soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
I'm
you.
out here. Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.